Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by and taking the time to visit with me. Today on this video we're going to be working on our third layout. These are layouts that I've previously created and also the dashboard. I am going to be skipping this page with the parchment paper only because I have no idea what to do with it. So I don't even want to think about it. I'll eventually come back to it and do something with it. But for now, we're just going to move on to the next page. So this layout is inspired by the word compassion. And it is something that I have always admired about Mike and how he has compassion. I mean, he has compassion for people, but more so, I wanted to reflect the compassion that he has for animals. And I'm going to be using my Sizzix alphabet die and a scrap of paper just to cut out the word. And hopefully I could spell it. I'm kidding. I checked and I did spell it correctly. Okay, so let me pre-warn you that I'm probably gonna get wrapped up too much into the story, and I'm not gonna tell you the process of what I'm doing in the video, which happens quite often in my channel. So just feel free to comment below, leave me a comment, a question, and I will answer it as best as I can. I always do answer, unless it's a mean comment, then I delete. But if you guys just have a question, just let me know. Okay, so let me tell you why I chose compassion. I'll show you in a little bit once I'm done obviously cutting out the dies. I am going to show you the picture that inspired this week's layout. And Michael was coming home from work. That's the picture right here. He's still in uniform because he had just gotten home from work. And every single time, I mean, I get a warm welcome for my animals too, but they go crazy. Even the cat and Cholo go crazy for Mike. Like, I feel like they could smell him as he pulls into the driveway. And I captured that picture because he literally comes home, sits on the sofa, and then it's like boom, two children wanting their dad's attention, and he has like one hand on the dog and one hand on the cat. And I think it's so funny, but it speaks so much of Mike's heart towards animals. And I showed, I know I was blabbering through, but I showed like other two pictures that I had. One was when Mike was little and he was with his cat Scooter. I think that was 89. And then there was another one of a puppy that we found. So I found this quote, and you guys will see it, I think, no, well, you'll see it at the end of the video. And the quote is by Albert Schweitzer. And I'm sorry, I'm totally jacking up his name, but Schweitzer. I'm so sorry, Albert Schweitzer. I'll just leave his name on the description. But I found this quote, and I felt that this quote described Mike's love for critters and all of God's creatures. I think that Mike hurts when animals are hurting. And of course, I'm not trying to say it's just animals. Of course, he has compassion for human beings and empathy, but he is just, I don't know, maybe because I'm not like that. I'm scared of animals. Like, I like them, I respect them, but I like them from afar because some of them are wild, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to get hurt. You know, I'm just like a scary cat, I guess. But Mike's not scared of them. I don't know, he just has such a good heart. And so I found this quote, and the quote says, "A man is truly ethical only when he obeys the compulsion to help all life which he is able to assist, and shrinks from injuring anything that lives." And I wrote it down. Right now I'm creating what's gonna be like a third page. So basically I'm gonna attach this other additional page to make it almost like a fold into it. And I'm gonna attach it with washi tape. But I ended up writing it on the inside. You guys will see that towards the end. And I felt like this quote described Mike to the T. uh, Mike grew up, he's the oldest of four boys. I think you guys can figure that out from my previous videos, or I think I've mentioned it before. But anyways, he's the oldest. And the second oldest is, there's about a 10-year gap. So basically, Mike didn't have anybody to play with, or and there wasn't he grew up in a street where there wasn't many kids in the neighborhood. They might have been the only ones. I'll have to ask my mother-in-law. But so what he used to do, and they also had they had like 5 acres, I think. And then across the street lived his maternal grandmother, and then next to them lived their his paternal grandmother. So he had a lot of property to roam to, and I guess go out, walk the woods or whatever. And he says that because he didn't have like any neighborhood kids to play with, and obviously he didn't have his brothers, he used to just go to the ponds or walk the woods and try to catch and release frogs or toads or critters that he found. And he was like a little explorer. And I think that's where the compassion for animals came from. Part of it was because maybe he was bored and he was just out there looking for a little buddy, or just wanting to know and care for them and know more about them. His parents also had a lot of pets that were in and out, like what are those kind called? Inside outside cats, I think, like that would just come for food and then disappear for 3 months, come home, and then get some food, visit, and then be on their merry way. So I feel like, well, Mike was just born with a good heart, but I feel like that's where his compassion for animals began. And so it's been like that. I mean, guys, if I could tell you how many animals this man has rescued. Just last week we found a little turtle. It was a box turtle, and somebody had attached electrical tape with a Lego on its shelf, and it was walking down the street, and we had to pull over and let it obviously remove the stuff. It wasn't hurting the turtle, it was more like a marking, but we had to get it off the street, so we kind of pushed it off into like a small little lake area or river. And the week before that, we had a little baby bird that came into our backyard, and he noticed that it wasn't really flying, and I don't know what kind of bird it was, but he thought it was injured. So what's the first thing? Like, "Anna, give me a shoebox." And he went out, catch the bird, and the kids were all like, "Oh my god, he's injured, and let's try to save him." And here we found out that that's what the baby birds do. This specific type of bird was like a bird that learns how to fly on the ground. So basically we interrupted his learning path, and the parents were somewhere around. So of course immediately we released it so that it could go back to its parents. And he did, because they were gone. So anyways, my house has always been a revolving door for a bunch of little animals, you guys. Sometimes I tell Mike, I feel like we're like that princess movie that constantly, she's walking down the woods, Snow White, and all the little animals come and talk to her. I feel like that's Mike. Mike is a princess. No, but I feel that Mike is always interested in what the critter is and what they do, and he immediately looks them up on the internet and reads about them and informs himself. And I just think it's such an admirable quality that he has, because I definitely see the signs that he's not only influencing me, but he's influencing the kids. And I see how the kids interact with the critters and with the animals, and they're so quick to want to protect them. And sometimes when it, like, let me just give you an example. Sometimes when it rains a lot, we get a lot of earthworms on our driveway. And my kids are always like, Mom, there's a worm here. We have to move them before we drive over it. And they are just, I see the signs that they are being influenced by Mike's behavior and compassion towards animals. It could be big, it could be small, it could be something that crawls and slimy, and like a pet or an animal. I cannot go, you guys. I cannot go to PetSmart with the kids because they guilt trip me so much so that I am always the bad person saying no to bringing more animals home. They always want another puppy. They always want another little kitten. They always want me to buy the birds and set them free, because we believe that birds are meant to fly, not to be in a cage. And I just cannot, like, I cannot go to any pet store with the children, because it's Mike's teaching that I see, and I love it. I love that he's like that. And I actually, my coworker let me borrow 3 books, and I've been reading them. I already finished one, and it talked in there about compassion, and in there it said that compassion is actually a quality that is influence. Like, if you live with somebody that has compassion towards things and towards people, towards animals, you are more than likely to become a more compassionate person. And I definitely see that in myself, and like I said, I definitely see that in the kids. It is like a learned behavior and I absolutely love that quality. This is why this week, this was because he came home and I saw how I was sitting on the couch next to him, and I just like pulled up my cell phone, which is normally like handy close to me. So I pulled it up and snapped a picture of like how Cholo always gets so happy to greet him. And I was like, you know what? Mike's always been like this. So I wanted to capture that in this layout. But let me tell you about how he influences me. I was coming home from work one day, and I drive, like, even though there's multiple ways to get to work, I like to take the back road because I like to roll my windows down and feel the air in my hair, and just, it's a back road. So I like to drive down that road, and there's a section of that road that has 2 ponds on each side. And I was coming home from work, and I saw a turtle. It was a decent sized turtle, probably like the size of a dinner plate. And I swerved because I know that I didn't want to hit it. So of course I'm not like sorry, I'm gonna use a bad word here, but I'm not an asshole. So I like swerved to miss it, and I kept on driving. And then I remember, like, what would Mike do? And the guilt started getting to me. If Mike was in the car, he would have pulled over, picked up the turtle, and helped it cross the street in the direction in which the turtle was going. So I kept on driving, But I kept thinking like, you should really turn around, like, you know, just remembering, and you know, like, what would Mike do, uh, you know, how would he feel proud of me, you know, like, just kind of like analyzing. I don't know how to describe it, but I was just kind of thinking like, it's God's critter, you know, like, you could do something besides not run over it. So I was like, okay, because I asked myself, if Mike was in the car, what would he do? And the answer is simple. He would have immediately pulled over, put his blinkers on, went out, picked up the turtle, and then put it on its way, because he's done it before. So I kept driving. So I ended up trying to make a U-turn at a gas station, and it doesn't have a lot of big roads, a big turn area, because it's like a straight road. There's not like many streets that you could turn into. Like, if you're turning into a section that's woods, or you're turning into somebody's driveway. So I kept on driving, which took me about another extra minutes to the gas station so that I could make a U-turn. And you guys, by the time I went back to the section where the turtle was, somebody had already ran over it. And I just bawled. Like, I called Mike and I'm like, I'm such an asshole. I knew I should have stopped, but I didn't want to touch it, because you guys, it's just something about touching animals that I'm scared of. I'm traumatized. But it's not that it grosses me out. Like, I'll touch it for a second, but I don't know. I just can't. I don't do well with touching animals, other than cats and dogs, of course, and horses. And so I called him while because he was home with the kids, and I called him, and I was just crying. I was like, it's my fault. I should have just stopped. I could have saved his life. Such a bad person. And then like the kids are like, Mom, why are you crying? Eventually, when I got home, they're like, Mom, why are you crying? And I told them the truth, and they were sad for me as well. They're like, Mom, you can't be scared. Mom, you could have saved this life. Like, making me feel even more like a shitbag. Sorry for cussing, you guys. Sorry. And I don't know. It wasn't a good example because it's a sad ending. But I know next time that I don't need to hesitate when it comes to saving a life. And even though that was a little turtle, some people may, well, it wasn't that little, but even if some people think that some people may think like, oh, people eat turtles, or it's not like that big of a deal. It was a big deal to me, because I didn't want to, I recognize that God made all of us, every single thing that walks on this earth. And I don't know, I could have done something to save it, and I didn't. So trust me, it's a lesson learned. So let me tell you about this little puppy. You see this little puppy that's in the middle area right now? Another prime example. And that's why I say Mike's where he's supposed to be in the fire department, because just how he is with animals, that's how he feels about helping people when they're in need. And he was coming home from work again. So he always finds something coming home from work. And he was coming towards the back area of our neighborhood, and he saw a carton box wiggle. And he was like, why would that box wiggle out of nowhere? So something told him to stop the car, which he did. And he went to look, and this little puppy right here, which is so stinking cute. He was like a mixture of a golden retriever. We call him like Little Cholo. Was in there, and somebody had abandoned it, you guys. But people are so mean. Like, they had abandoned it in a box where the puppy couldn't get out. So not only are you preventing it maybe having a chance of survival, but you put it in a box, because this little puppy is like a golden retriever mix, but his legs were kind of short. It wasn't like a normal golden retriever puppy. So, and they put him in like a big tall box. So how was the puppy gonna know to knock it down so that he could escape, basically? And I don't know what called Michael's maybe it was the Holy Spirit, I don't know, his conscience, I have no idea, but something told him to stop and go check it out. He did, and he found this pretty puppy. And what's the first thing he says when he calls me? He's like, you need to come outside. And I'm like, why? He's like, you need to come outside. And I was like, okay. And then he's like, I found something. And I'm like, what? And he had brought it in the box, in the same box in which he saw it wobble on the street. And I was like, no. He's like, yes, I found this puppy. And I was like, babe, we can't take in another puppy. Like, one, because if you properly care for your animals, taking them to the vet, having vet insurance, it's expensive. It gets expensive. It's just like another expense. So I was like, babe, we can't afford to have another animal. And of course the kids were like, oh my God, he's so cute. And I was like, well, you need to shower him, because he was dirty. He was super dirty. Like, we thought his skin color was like brown. No, he was dirty. So then of course he's like, okay, hand me the Dawn soap. He took him out the backyard, started washing him. Next thing you know, he's like, Anna, come check this out. And I go, that puppy was infested with fleas. It wasn't dirt, you guys. It was fleas. And I was like, he can't come in the house. And I really don't like being the bad guy, but sometimes I have to have common sense. We've had a flea infestation in our home that took us about 6 months to get rid of. And that's like fumigating carpets, sofas, animals, washing them constantly, treating them constantly, taking them to the vet, the yard, the garage, their kennel area. I mean, it literally took us 5 to 6 months to get rid of the flea infestation. So I was in a panic mode. The puppy can't come in the house. We're gonna have another flea infestation. And when I tell you guys, man, I don't wish that upon nobody, because we had the type of flea infestation that if we walked into the garage as humans, all you would see is black little dots on your legs and your ankles and your feet. And that was like the fleas that we couldn't get rid of. So, man, that was a struggle. Horrible. So of course I'm like in panic mode that no, the puppy can't come in. And he's like, okay, well, let me keep washing him. We're gonna knock some of them out or whatever. And I'm like, fine. I don't know what happened. I ended up giving in. I always do. So I ended up giving in. The puppy came inside, and I was like, not happy. And I was like, no, if he's gonna stay, we need to take him to the vet like right now. And we need to take Cholo, and we need to take Nick, because at this point I'm thinking the fleas have already jumped onto our pets. And now I'm really gonna have to worry about 3 animals being infested with fleas. So we took him to the vet, and we're like, look, my husband's a fireman. He found this puppy on his way home from work. Can you help us find somebody they would want him here at from the clinic, from the veterinary care. And they're like, okay, we'll ask around or whatever. And we're like, look, we're willing to pay for the treatment, the shots. I don't know where this puppy came from. We don't know anything about it or whatever, how old It was a boy. Nothing. We don't know anything. Guys, we ended up paying $1,023, I want to say. It was definitely a little bit over $1,000 for all three animals to be treated that day. I was like, ugh, Michael Robinson, why do you have such a good heart? And thankfully, thanked the veterinarian called us before, because it's the type of service where you drop off your animals and then you come back and pick them up later. And they called us back and they're like, there's this couple here, they just lost their puppy, their dog. It was an older dog, so of course it passed away. And we told them about this puppy, and it's the same, it looks just like the one that passed away, and they would really love to take it home. And we were like, are they a good people? Do they take care of their animal? And they're like, yes, they confirmed, they gave us good. So we're like, okay, they could take it. We still got stuck with the bill, which is fine. But they ended up taking the puppy home, and I hope the puppy is doing well. I of course wish him well now that I'm remembering him, little Cholo. But just another prime example, you guys. Just another prime example of Mike always wanting to feel the need to protect and care and save animals' lives. So we're finishing up with our layout now. I think I said nothing about it, but I hope that you guys were able to see it as I was talking about it. And what I'm gonna do is, at the pink page on the left, I ended up writing the quote that I told you guys about already, and I also ended up writing my own little take on it. And it says, you inspire me to be more compassionate, and I stand in awe of how full your heart is for all of God's creatures. I love how you project this quality to our children. You have opened their hearts to the connection with nature and to have reverence for all life. And that's it, you guys. I'm just gonna finish accenting the page with like small little details and stuff, and that was the layout for this week. I'm so sorry, you guys, that this video ended up being super long and super chatty. I tend to get like that when I'm describing Mike. I hope that you guys enjoyed the layout. I'm gonna finish here just adding a few accents and embellishing the pictures and the layouts, and I'm gonna end up writing what I've already told you, the quote and my own little note for Mike. I also end up coming back with a pen. As you guys can see, you could barely see the word compassion, so I end up going around with the pencil first, and then with the black ink, so that it pops a little bit more on the bottom of the layout. So like I said, I'm so sorry this is super chatty. Thank you so much for all the love and the support, and I'm gonna leave you guys here, and we will see you on the next. I hope you guys have a blessed week, and once again, let me apologize for using cuss words in the video. So please don't be offended. I don't normally do that. I think this is the first video I've said a bad word, so I apologize for that. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys soon. Bye.